Okay, Perek 12. No says Isha. Somebody married a woman and she had already a child, she had already a daughter from a previous marriage. She's not obligated to support her. The din to support daughters is only his own daughters. But here he obligated himself on his own. And he said, I'll support your daughter. He made up with her, she made up with him, whatever, that he's going to support her daughter for 5 years. For instance, for 5 years. So he has to do it. But what do you? That's not chiddush. He has to fulfill his obligation. Well, he agreed to. That's not the chiddush. The chiddush is coming up. He divorced her, and you might think that if he divorced her, so it's over. He only meant to support her daughter as long as they're married. But it says not only that. He didn't say that. He didn't specify that. So he has to support even after he divorces her. And then she remarried, and she made up the same deal with the next husband. So she's getting two supports. This is she doesn't beat the Chamishanim. She married a second man, of course, after she got divorced from the first one. And also she made up with him that he should support her daughter for 5 years. He also has to support her for 5 years. And you might think that the first one will say, we're not married anymore. So he says, no, the first one cannot say only, the words literally mean when she will come to me. But it means to say, as long as she was with me, as long as we're married and she's coming together with you being married to me, azona, then I'm going to support her. You can't say that. No. He has to bring the food to the place where her mother is, even though he divorced her and she's someplace else. He has to bring the food to the place where she's married to her second husband. Now, you might think both of them together will make a joint fund. I'll give half, you give half, both of us have to give, but no, also not. They shouldn't say that we'll jointly support her. One has to give her the food, one has to give her the value of the food, because they didn't specify they're only doing it because they're married to the mother. So they obligated themselves a regular obligation to give food. Now, if she has food already, so then the value of the food. Nises, and now this girl, she eventually grew up and she got married also. The husband also has to support her. So she's getting three supports. So that's the husband can't say she's getting supported already. What does she need me? What does she need me for? He says, so she marries, so the husband has the regular obligation to support his wife, and they still have to support her because they obligated themselves.
Even though they divorced?
Yeah. It's going to say at the end of the mission that they should be smart, and when they made this obligation, they should stipulate only as long as we're married. But they didn't say that. They just said we're going to support for 5 years. Okay, so you made an obligation to support this girl for 5 years, unrelated to the fact that you're married. Mesu, what if these two people that obligated themselves to support their daughter, they died? They also have. Good morning. They also have their own daughters. They have their own life also. Besides this stepdaughter that they're supporting, or ex stepdaughter. They also have their own daughters. So she has even more chashivas than those daughters. But a person's own daughters get supported from his estate. After he dies, the person's daughters are supported from his estate, but only from Bnei Chorin, means only from whatever he has, the estate that he has. But if he had sold properties, they don't have a right to collect from the sold property to get their support. There's no such thing, and the reason is because I think Rashi brings down that the people won't be able to buy fields because they never know how much is going to be on a lien for the support. It's an endless kind of a obligation. But when a person has this kind of a hope, this is a limited, defined kind of a hope. So this girl who's being supported because they obligated themselves, so that's a defined, limited obligation, and it could collect from the Chasim Mishubadim. Even if he had sold properties also, she could collect from that. So it comes out, Mesu, if they died, his own daughters only supported from the lands that he had, the estate that he has available, that he did not sell. But this girl, the ex-stepdaughter, is being supported even from the Nechasim Mishubadim because she's like a regular Balas Chov. She's like a regular creditor that she has a lien on the properties. And then the Mishnah ends off what everybody's thinking. The smart ones, when they would write such kind of a thing, what?
We're all
picking. Then the people who had business head, so they said, only as long as you're with me, as long as we're married, so I'll support your daughter. But once if I divorce you, so I'm not going to support your daughter after that. But they have to specify it in their contract.
when it says molech, is that just the way of talking, or does it mean he has to really bring it to wherever she is?
Or
Or if she,
let you
come
send
collect
your
it,
yeah.
Hey, here's the food, come get it. But why-
Could be
what if she
that.
moves or something?
Does that mean that he also for the delivery also has to pay for the
Yeah.
delivery?
Oh,
Gemara-
so
the Gemara-
Molech here means delivery.
The word means molech means to bring it, but Mike's asking, does that mean literally, or does it mean that he has to give it to her even though she's not there? It could be. The Gemara is gonna just talk about the diak of the place that she is. Where is she? That the Gemara is gonna talk about. But the word molech, I don't know if to take it literally that he even has to pay for the delivery service. I don't know. If you want, there's a Gemara over there. If that helps you, it doesn't help you.
It does.
It does. Okay. Go follow up on the base.
I was thinking we're reading up on so
I don't know.
One-
It was a
I
late night,
rejected it.
late night.
Yeah, it was a late night. Sorry, I left early and it's still too late. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. So the Mishnah was very interesting that it's nothing to do really, it has to do with the side issue about somebody obligating himself to support his wife's daughter, which nothing to do with the obligations of Kesuvos. This is his own issue. And the Mishnah just points out that this own issue may make sure that it's worded correctly, or else he's going to obligate himself much more than he probably intended. The Gemara starts, Itmar, somebody says to his fellow man, I owe you 100. I owe you 100 whatever dollars. But he didn't, there are no Edim, and that's going to be the issue over here. He just said, he admitted that I owe you 100.
What's that? Itmar going to tell us?
Itmar is, we don't know. We're on uncharted territory. It is going, it's not. Itmar. The Itmar literally means it has been said. It's Amar. You know, you have the Tnan and you have Isam. It means when Amoram speak. So the way it introduces is an Itmar. Someone admits to his friend, I owe you 100. Rabbi Yochanan says that's enough to obligate him since he admitted. Rish Lakish says that it's not enough to obligate him. The Gemara right away is going to explain what's the case. Why should he not be chayiv? And the Gemara says Hechidami. That abbreviation stands for Hechidami. What's the case? What is the case that they're arguing about? If he said when there were witnesses over there that you are my witnesses, of course the case comes later on that he's denying it. If he doesn't deny it, so then he says you have to pay, so pay, but he denies it. So the fact that he said in front of witnesses, is that enough to obligate him? So the Gemara is taking for granted that we know in Sanhedrin, seems to be a Mishnah Sanhedrin, only if he says, you are my witnesses. He makes them to be witnesses. So then they're witnesses. Then it's a serious hoda, serious admittance, and is binding. So if he told there are people in front of them when he admitted, then he said, you are my witnesses, so surely it's binding. And if he didn't say you are my witnesses, so in Sanhedrin it says it's not binding. Whatever reason he said it, but it's not an official admittance if he didn't officially make them to be witnesses. So that's the Morris Kasha. What are we talking about? If he said, you are my witnesses, my time of the Rish Lakish, the kapata, why Rish Lakish say he doesn't have to? You have witnesses, surely you have to pay. Either lo amalu atamei dam atam de Rabbi Yochanan to come chayiv. If he did not say atamei, then why should Rabbi Yochanan say it's chayiv? It says since he's not chayiv, only if he said atamei. So the Gemara is going to find the case that they're arguing. Lo olam de lo kamalu atamei dai. V'achavamai eskina dam alei chayiv ani v'chamana. Quotation, Rashi learns that's quotation, Bishtar. He wrote in the contract, not that he said it, even though it said before that he said it to Omer. How did it start off the Gemara? Itmar, Omer l'chaveru. So now the Gemara is saying, even though it says Omer, it doesn't mean that he said it, it means he wrote it. He wrote in the contract, I am chayiv to you, 100, whatever. He didn't sign it. Rashi points out he didn't sign it, he just wrote it. And there were Edom over there. He gave it over to Edom. Is that considered saying Atam Eidai? That we said in Sanhedrin, it says that if you said Atam Eidai, so then you're chayiv, and if you don't say Atam Eidai, you're not. The fact that he wrote it in a piece of paper and he gave it over in front of Edom, is that as binding as if he would have said, you are my witnesses?
Normally, that's a shtar.
Right. So shtar usually has Edom signed on it, and minimum, even IOU note is that he signs it. This is here he didn't sign it. He just wrote IOU and he gave it over in front of Edom. So is that enough? As if he would have? Is that considered an official appointment of the Edom? The fact that he gave over this document, this piece of paper that says IOU in front of the Edom, is that as if he would have said Atam Eidai?
Why is that better than if he had no star at all and there were there? I thought we said that that's for sure. That's
Only if he says Atam Eidai. Only if he announces, you are my witnesses. That's an official appointment of the witness as well. I don't remember the Gemara there says.
He handed this over and two people saw him hand it over.
And what does it say?
I owe you, but he didn't sign it.
Right, that's the case.
It says I owe you 100. Doesn't
Right.
say who the I is.
Yeah, but we know the Edom know who it was.
They know who gave it.
Right, but the question is that considered an official appointment of the Edom the fact that he gave over a piece of paper, that's more binding maybe than just saying. If he just says in front of them, I owe you 100, that's not enough to bind. It doesn't bind him. I forgot if the Gemara where it says that he says I had other reasons why I said it. I was making a joke. I wanted to, whatever the case would have been, but it's not binding unless he officially says you are my witnesses. And the other question is,
Even
if
without
not,
a signature.
that
Or-
if
or
he
what
said
is it?
again, if he
Yeah,
said it
confused.
verbally, so
If
that's
he
not
said it
enough to
verbally
obligate
and he
him.
didn't
That's
say
not,
you are my witnesses,
so
then they heard
then
him.
it's not enough to
It's not
obligate him.
enough.
And the question is, if writing it on a piece of paper and giving it over in front of Adam, is that enough? Is that considered an
Without a
official
signature.
appointment?
Even without a signature.
Right. If there's a signature, that is binding.
I mean, how the witness is gonna identify it's his hand-
They saw,
handwriting? It's what happening.
they saw him give you over such a paper.
Any siman that it's his,
No,
you
no,
can mix
they-
up in writing easily.
I don't know if the point is
Yeah,
that
but
it's his
it's not
handwriting.
signed by
He
him. It
gave
doesn't matter
over.
that he wrote it.
It
It's
could be
how it's
maybe
scribed.
typewriter, computer written, but he gave over this paper that says, I owe you $100. Gave it over to them. That's what the Gemara seems to say. That's the machlokes. According to the way we're reading it, Chai bani lechamana is in quotations, and the word b'shtar is not in quotations.
Mhm.
The others learn differently. This is how Rashi learns. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Chaim alima milsa d'shtara. The word alima means strong. Today they use it in Hebrew. Really, it's Aramaic, but they use it in alimut. How do you say it in English? Alimut.
Violence.
Okay, so it doesn't. Okay, so the word means strong. So in this context, it doesn't mean violence. It means that the star is strong. Alima milsa d'shtara. The star is strong in a way that it makes it as if it was an official appointment of the Edom. That the star, the contract, the fact that it's written is strong as if he would have said Atamedai. And Rosh Lakish Amar Pater, lo alim with the mills of the shtar. That is not so. That doesn't make it any stronger. It's like he would have said it. If he would have said it, then he didn't appoint explicitly to appoint him to Edom. It's not Edom. It doesn't obligate him. So writing it is no stronger. So we figured out what the machlokas is. We had an itmar, machlokas Perek and Rosh Lakish. We didn't know what they're talking about, and we figured out that that's the case that they're talking about. That he wrote in a paper on and he gave it over in front of Edom, but he didn't say Atamedai. The fact that it's written is that something that is as strong as if he would have said Atamedai. Okay, machlok. So far machlokes. So obviously we're bringing it in because we're going to try to derive something from our Mishnah, and that's one line up from the bottom. Tanan, our Mishnah. The first thing in the Mishnah I said was go. Like it was simple. I thought it was just a lead up to the rest of the Mishnah, but the Gemara wants to find the chiddush even in the first sentence. Somebody obligated himself to support his wife's daughter for 5 years. He has to support her for 5 years. So it goes without saying. If he mamish obligated himself in a regular way, so that's no chiddush that he has to pay. So it must be such a case that he wrote it without a kinyan, and he just he didn't sign it. He just wrote on a piece of paper and he gave it over, and you see that that's enough to obligate him. So the Gemara thinks it's a right to Rabbi Yochanan that that's enough.
Right, that's not
My love,
yeah.
it doesn't say that that's the case, but the Gemara finds there's no chiddush otherwise. If he would have made a regular kinyan, obligated himself, I would have thought that it's just a lead up to say that even though he divorced her, that's a big chiddush. But the Gemara doesn't. That maybe the first line doesn't say that. The first line does says he's chayiv while they're still married. That goes without saying. So the fact that the Mishnah said it for a case in itself, it must be some chiddush, and the case must be that he didn't make a kinyan, they didn't sign it. He just gave over a piece of paper to his wife that he's marrying. I'm going to support your daughter for 5 years, and that's enough to obligate. And that's a real Yochanan. My love, ki gavna, is it not what we just case, the same case that we just said, and it's a right to Rabbi Yochanan? The Gemara reflects it. No, top line, low. Start psikta, a different kind of an obligation that is different than regular. And the Gemara is going to bring that the chas and the kala, when they get married, or the two fathers, and before they make the kedushin, each one says how much they're going to give to the couple, the two fathers. The father of the kala asks the mechutin, how much are you going to give to your son? And he answers kach l'kach. And then he asks back, how much are you going to give to your daughter? And he says kach l'kach. And they didn't make any kinyan. And then the kids got married. That obligates the fathers, even though they didn't make any kinyan. The fact that they made up, we're going to give this much money to our children, that the kedushin itself obligates that agreement, and they're obligated, whatever they say.
The question.
The two mechutanim talking to each other. How much are you going to give? How much are you going to give? And they made up.
The psikta.
That's called psikta. Make what's a good word in English? Psikta over there.
Cut.
Anything on in the translation top line? Psikta over there.
Start.
It means to make up a definite amount.
Oh, psikta, no b'shtar psikta. No, it's a documents of allotment.
How much each one's going to allot? He's allotting to his son, allotting to his daughter. They made up a certain amount. So
They
the
didn't
fact
write it.
they didn't, they
Verbal.
didn't even write. They didn't even write it. They didn't even write
They
it.
did write it.
They didn't even write it.
So
Didn't
why-
write it.
why
So
is it-
and that's a chiddush.
No.
That the
big
fact,
chiddush.
a big
Why-
chiddush.
who would-
That even though they didn't write it,
Yeah,
they didn't make a
prove it.
kinyan. But this story is something special about getting married.
Because we want people to get married.
Why? Maybe because I think the Gemara is going to say later on that they're so excited and enthusiastic about the kids getting married
they
that
don't
obligate
mess up.
themselves
They don't
even
mess
without
up
a
the
kinyan.
And they also
One
have
of
a
them
big
says
hardship.
you said $1 million.
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
guy doesn't have the money. What
Oh, if he
he's
doesn't have-
obligated.
Yeah. Well, that's some question. If someone obligates himself, he doesn't have the money. What does he do? I'm not sure what the question is.
Okay.
You're asking what does somebody do when he obligates himself? He doesn't have
The
money.
question is, it's just, normally it's his word against the other guy's word, and you say you don't have a witness, you don't have a sign,
Oh, no,
you have nothing, it's nothing, I agree, but now. you're
No.
saying
The
something.
first question is not. They could be that he had nobody's arguing the facts. They're not
Oh, he
denying.
agreed.
They're not
Oh,
denying. The question is,
oh,
but then he says, I changed my mind. He changed your mind. I didn't sign anything. I didn't make a kinyan. The chiddush is that it takes effect even without a kinyan.
So regularly in the world,
Yes.
okay, I go to kind of and I say whatever, and we make a deal verbally.
With no kinyan.
kinyan, no nothing.
So it doesn't obligate
It's
you.
not obligated.
It's not.
Word doesn't mean
I
anything.
think even in the
And the
world,
board said they say it's handshake.
a handshake is a something.
Is it
Of course.
something?
A handshake is a something. But
that's-
but even I think even in the world, till you make some kind of official binding something. I think even in the world it's like that.
Yeah.
They write. I think any kind of a rental, a sale.
If you admit it, if you admit that I said this, it's called a verbal contract.
That
You
depends.
can you can deny it, that's a different.
But even if you
story.
don't deny it, what obligates you? We were talking about it, and I said I'm going to. But what makes it so free? What makes it final? I think you have to have something.
Strong enough.
I don't know. I don't know legally, but this is
With the
special.
father,
This is
like, I'm
special.
gonna give the refrigerator. And then
Yeah.
he's obligated to give the refrigerator.
Right. Even if they didn't make a kinyan at all, they didn't
Yeah.
write it, they didn't make a kinyan. The kids got married, they
I'll
made a
give the
condition.
refrigerator, you buy the bed.
Yeah, and then they got married.
Bad, yeah.
Then they have to do it.
Right,
Oh,
right. And that the Gemara says that's the case over here. This woman, when she was getting
Did you
married.
do that?
Again?
Yeah, we wrote.
Did you do that?
We didn't.
You
We
didn't. Oh, you
whatever
didn't.
we say we're gonna do. So they make a zichron form. They call it. They write down.
Jews, it seems like Jews would also.
And
do
each
it. They
one
wanna
say-
be
each
like
one
Hashem.
say-
If they say they're gonna do something, they should do it.
It could be, but that doesn't obligate in court. That means that
Oh.
it means it could be that someone's called mechusar amana. Sometimes I don't know exact case, but sometimes even if you're not obligated in court, that they're gonna. But it's called if someone doesn't do that, so he's not a trustworthy person.
Ah.
There's such a thing called a misha pora. That there's a misha berach. Everyone knows a misha berach.
Misha
There's the opposite. The opposite of misha berach is a misha
Oh,
pora.
boy.
And like misha pora, like you say misha berach of a sena runs of
Torah
Yaakov.
with
There's
an
also
eye. What is it?
pay Resha, and he who paid back, he who retribution from Mitzrayim and this and all the bad people should also pay back to someone who doesn't hold up with his word. So that's sometimes a person that gives his word, so there's enough to get a mishapara. Person gives a mishapara instead of a mishaber. But
They scoff it. They scoff it. The basement scoffs it.
and no one in scoff. It's a klola, it's
Klola?
kind of a curse,
Oh,
mishapara. Like mishaber because it's brachos. A
Yeah,
mishapara
no,
is a
is that a mission? Is that a more something?
it's a surely Gemara. I don't remember the details, but here it's talking about that does obligate. So here we said that the can't be a right from Mishnah. That the case of the 5-year deal was something that he just wrote down on paper and it goes into the Machlokas Rebbe and Rish Lakish. It was a shtar psikta, and that's a chiddush. Rav Gidl says that even if you didn't write it and you didn't make any kinyan, shtar psikta is obligates, and therefore when he obligated himself to his bride that I'm going to support your daughter for 5 years, so that obligates him.
Okay.
That's a case of something which can make a kinyan just by speaking alone, verbally alone. It obligates. Okay, so that's not a raya. So we still have we brought in the sugi because of our Mishnah. We thought it's going to be
That's a
right from our
special
Mishnah.
case, so it doesn't-
Right, so that's not a right to the
It's
case of
not
a
a case.
Yochanan Rish Lakish. It doesn't prove the case of a Yochanan Rish Lakish. So we're still on the lookout. Can we find the right from someplace else? So this is the 5th line. Tashma kasav l'kohen shani chayv l'chacham islam. Someone wrote to a kohen, I owe you 5 islam. Of course, it right away reminds us of Pidyon Ben that he had a son. That's the firstborn, and he has to redeem him. Gives 5 islam to the kohen. He wrote, I'm chayv to you 5 islam. Chayv litan locham islam. Ubeno ein apadik. He has to give 5 islam, but his son is not redeemed. It sounds like it doesn't hold for the Pidyon Ben, and it just obligates himself another 5 islam. If he didn't give it for the Pidyon Ben. He just said, I owe you. So that sounds like a regular IOU note.
I owe
And
you 5 slum.
five
Oh, it's
slum.
not
It's not much the
gonna
same,
work for the
and-
opinion of that.
it's not for the Pidyon Ben. So it sounds like the case of Yochanan Rish Lakish. If someone just wrote, I owe you 5 slum, and it says it is chayiv. Doesn't it sound like Rabbi Yochanan?
It
That's
sounds
enough
like-
to be
yeah, it sounds
Mechayiv.
like Rabbi Yochanan,
Yeah.
not Rish Lakish.
It's not Rish Lakish. The Gemara says, no, this is different. Shani Yasal, the Meshub B'Dleim with the rice. The Pidyon Ben is different. The reason why he's chayiv is because of the pidyon haben. A second ago, we thought that it's not for the pidyon haben. Like it says, b'no ein podoi, that it doesn't work for the pidyon haben. So it sounds like the 5 shlom is outside the obligation. He made it on his own. And it says that it obligates him. Sounds like a Yochanan. The Gemara says no. He's chayiv because of pidyon haben. The 5 shlom that is chayiv is because of pidyon haben. So the question is obvious. So why is his son not redeemed? If the 5 shlom that he's going to give is for the pidyon haben, so why does it say right? So the Gemara will get to that in a second. But first, the Gemara says, if he's chayiv, if he's only giving the pidyon haben, so why did he write anything? He's chayiv anyway. If he's obligating himself another 5 shlom besides the pidyon haben, okay, so that's why he wrote it. But if he's just obligating himself the pidyon haben, so why did he write it in the first place? The chayiv anyway. Their answer is that he's choosing which Kohen. His obligation is to give 5 shlom to a Kohen. But that now that he wrote it to a certain Kohen, so now the Kohen now is the one who's going to be paid. So that's the purpose of writing it. Okay, but the question is then, so why doesn't it work? If he's saying that this is just obligation of pidyon haben, and he just said to the Kohen, I'm going to give you the 5 shlom of the pidyon haben, so why doesn't it work? The answer is, really it does work. Really, the son is redeemed. But Kedeula, Lula says that there's exeter abonon. Really, the son is redeemed. Of course, when he gives the money, it means just giving to the Kohen that's paper, I'm going to give you that's not poda. He has to give him the money. So Midaraisa, when he gives the money, it is a good pidyon haben. But for my time, how come the Rabbanan said that Midarabanan it doesn't work? Because the Gezerah, it looks like he's giving him a different kind of a star. Gezerah Shemayomu Podin B'shtaros. You might think it's Gezerah. You might think that you're allowed to be poda pidyon haben by giving somebody else's check. Someone gave you a check, a star, a deed of obligation, a loan, and you give somebody a check. Can you be poda a son with somebody else's a third party check? You can't. That's the halacha that it's not considered money. The Rashi brings down the drasha where it says you can't use that. That's not considered actual money to be able to be poda
for the pidyon.
For the pidyon haben. So in this case,
You can't use a credit card.
maybe can't use a credit card even after you draw the money.
No, the credit card to buy, if you buy it, you buy the
that's-
slime and then you give the slime to the Kohen.
Okay, that's your own business.
different.
That's your own business. That's
Yeah, that was before the
you gave
You
money.
can't give the
But
credit card
when-
to the Kohen.
Yeah, no, but even a check, when it says you can't use a check, somebody else's check, even though he cashes the check, also it's not considered a pidyon
But
haben.
your check, you could use.
Your check when you cash it. That's what it seems. That when he cashes it, the check alone.
You can't give him a check for 5 shlom and then.
I think so, but I think only after he cashes it is it
Okay,
going to
if he
become
cashes
poda. If something happens on the way, so it's not that alone is not considered money until it's cash. But I think the third party check is not good even after he takes the money out. After he draws the money, also it's not good.
Rabbi, the Gezerah is if you're the Kohen and I give you a piece of paper saying I want you to do my pidyon haben, then I pay you the 5 salah.
It's still
It
not
doesn't
right,
count.
right. Only because since you mixed in a contract over here, so people will think that the contract is the star, the deed, the check
So then how does
is
he do his pidyon? He has to
Say-
pay another 5.
right. That's what it says. That he has to give him, but he has to give it to him, but it's still and it's not considered a pidyon haben. So the Gemara got out of that also. So the Gemara tried to bring a riot two. I think both proofs were in the same direction. Both of them are trying to say like a Yochanan that is enough to be mechayiv. One case was Mar Mishnah with the stepdaughter of 5 years, and one is the 5 shlom of the pidyon haben. Both of them the Gemara deflected. It's not a riot to Rabbi Yochanan. Amar Rava Ketanoid. Now Rava thinks that he found a machlokes to know about this issue between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Orev hayotze la'achachitim shtaros. Orev is a guarantor. Usually a guarantor signs. Writes the guarantee, writes his guarantee before the Edom sign. That's a regular contract. You have a Ruvain is lending money to Shimon, and then the guarantor is signed, and then the Edom sign at the bottom of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And here, after the Edom signature on the loan, then the Orev wrote, I guarantee the above loan. So does it? What do you think?
The agent didn't see him do it.
Okay, but he signed it. He signed his name, so it should obligate him. But first it says. He only could collect from the nechasim menechorim. Means on the loan itself, you could collect from the borrower, even nechasim mishubadim, because he made a contract with Edom. But the Orev usually also, if the Orev is signed before the signature, so then the signature goes on that also, and the nechasim mishubadim from the guarantor also. If he has a karka that he sold, whatever, from afterwards, that's also there's a lien on his karka also on the guarantor. But if he only signed after this Edom, so then the signature of the Edom doesn't go on that. So that's like a regular IOU note that you can't collect from, doesn't make a lien. But a signing doesn't make a lien. It means that's the difference because the lien that is going to obligate the property even after it's sold, that he could collect, he could, is the worth of foreclosed, that he could go on the property even after it's sold. That's only if it's publicized. And nowadays it might be that it has to be registered in the Ministry of whatever. But in those days, it had to be signed. The signatures of the Eidim, that makes that it's publicized and people know when they want to, what?
That the loan can be number.
Right. So if someone decides to IOU, how is people supposed to know about it?
No, if an IOU that's unsigned is the same as an IOU that is
No,
signed.
if it's signed, that was, so if it's not signed, that's the whole subject we're talking about. If it is signed, it does obligate him personally, but it doesn't make that his property is going to be a lien on it. If he would sell the property, the buyer doesn't have to give up the property when he says, I have an IOU, you know, that before you bought it, is ready a lien. There's no lien, only if Adim. It has to be Adim in order to make a lien, or else people don't know about it. How could you buy property? Nowadays, when you want to buy property, you have to check out, and what do they call it? Misrad, whatever, to make sure that there's no no liens on the property. But in those days, there was no misrad to find out if there's a lien. What?
The tabu office.
The tabu office, Misrad HaMekarkein, you know, who owns what. So you have to know if there's a lien on a property. In those days, the way to know if there's a lien is if there's noise in the street. You go to the shul, go to the mikveh, you ask, what's doing with this guy? He has loans. So then you don't buy property from him if there's a loan on it, but it's only if it's signed by Adam. If there's no Adam signed on the shah, no one knows about it. The private IOU know. So you can't collect the Chasam Mishabanim. So far it makes sense that if the Arevim, if the guarantors are written, signed before the signature of the Adam, so then the Adam are making noise about that also. So everyone knows that there's a lien on the property of the Arevim. But if they signed after, so then you can't collect from the Chasam Mishabanim, but you could collect from the property of the Arevim themselves, and the Chasam Nechorin. Why not? They signed that they're a guarantee for this loan. But now comes a big chiddush. Still, so far it's the same. Rabbi Shmuel said the same thing like the Tanakhama said so far. Amalo Benanis said to Rabbi Shmuel, no, it doesn't obligate the guarantor at all. Why is that? Amalo Lama. So Rabbi Shmuel asked Benanis, why? Why shouldn't it guarantee? Why shouldn't it obligate him on the Bnei Chorin? Amalo Harei Shayachonik es Chaver B'Shuk. What if somebody was strangling? It was very dramatic. That he was choking his fellow man. You owe me money. You're not paying up. And someone wanted to help him out, so he said, I'll pay. Does that obligate him? Does it obligate the guarantor who saves somebody from being strangled? So he says, no, it doesn't obligate him. Potter. Why? So I would have thought the reason why it's Potter is because it's trying to save him. But it says no. Potter because he didn't lend him because of his trust. Usually by regular guarantor, I'm not lending him only if you're going to take the responsibility. You'll be a co-signer. You'll be a guarantor. So the lending is only because you agreed to. So then that obligates I'm lending because you're accepting it. But if he became a guarantor after the loan, so then when I lent, I didn't have in mind after because you're going to be the guarantor. I lent it even without a guarantor. So that even though it became a guarantor later, it doesn't obligate him. The Gemara doesn't see a difference if it's because he's choking him or just because he signed after the loan. So the fact that here, the Orev, Lachachitim Shtaros, the fact that there was a loan even before the guarantee, like you see, the Adam signed on it before the guarantor. So even though the guarantor came in and he offered to be a guarantor after the fact, it doesn't obligate him. Okay, there's Machokas Rabbi Shmuel and Bananas about this point.
And
And
that was all Mishnah.
what is it?
This was all part of the Tanakh.
This is so far, yes. It seems like it's a Mishnah. I can't get in. I didn't look it up. Get in Babasra. I don't remember. So what does the Gemara see in this Mishnah or Brisa? Lema Rabbi Yochanan Dama Rabbi Shmuel. Resh Lakish Dama Kebenanis. The Gemara thinks that this is the machlokas over here. That fact that he. What does the Gemara see? What's the comparison over here?
Is obligating and Resh Lakish saying it's not.
So this person who's signing without any Adam is the same thing as Rabbi Yochanan and Resh Lakish. Did he sign his name over here? He signed his name. Is that not the case that he didn't sign his name? Why does the Gemara see a comparison over here? Because he didn't sign his name.
Didn't he just say it?
He wrote it. He wrote it in the contract. The Orev who wrote his when?
That was the mashal.
That was the mashal of the person who's choking. But here it said, what are we going to say? That it's talking about that he did not sign his name. That's why maybe that's the case.
It's a star without a signature.
Even without the Adam signature, and even without his own signature. If it's with his own signature, is any reason why it should not obligate him?
By us, it's also he wrote it.
He wrote it without a signature. That's what Rashi explains at the beginning of the sugya. that must be without a signature, because if it will be a signature, it's like Xabia, like a IOU note that obligates him. I don't, at this point, I'm fuzzy on. If the how does the Gemara see that it's talking about that he didn't sign his name? If the Gemara says here, the reason why it doesn't obligate you is because he lent him without leaning on you. He did the loan without having the guarantee. That's the reason why Banana says it's not chayiv. So I don't see that it's exactly the same case. I don't see how the Gemara sees that the case is that it was a loan without, it was a signing with a writing without a signature. At this point, I don't get clear. But we'll to continue. So the Gemara sees that this machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish, that Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rabbi Shmuel, that it does obligate him. Rish Lakish holds like Bananas that does not obligate him. The Gemara says at the end, I'll leave it to Bananas come a little pligi. And Bananas is surely right. Bananas holds that it does not obligate him. Rabbi Yochanan cannot say that he agrees with the Bananas. Bananas is like Rish Lakish, that does not obligate him. But the question is, keep legal, leave it to Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel seems to say that it does obligate him. Sounds like Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shmuel, that's good. But Rish Lakish says, I also hold like Rabbi Shmuel. I'm not only saying point to Bananas. Rish Lakish says, Ad kan l'kama Rabbi Shmuel lasam elo d'shayach ve'yeshivu d'oraisa. The only reason Rabbi Shmuel says that the Orev, the guarantor, does become obligated is because there's a Shibu d'oraisa. The Shibu d'oraisa. No. We're going in Orev. We forgot about Pidyon Haben. We're going now in the case of the Orev. Yeah, Orev signed after the shtar is over with the Eidim. He signed, I guarantee the above loan. So, and we're saying, Al-Khor was saying it's without a signature. So that's stronger than our case of Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish, Ani Chayav L'cha. And Rashi brings down the bottom of Amar Aleph that Arvus, the guarantor, you find the concept of Arvus in the Torah. Rashi says, Anochi Arvenu, over there by Yehuda with Yosef, that Yehuda said, is that Yehuda? Yeah. Maybe that's by Reuven. I think the word Anochi Arvenu is by Reuven. Anochi Arvenu. Look at the words Anochi Arvenu. These words Anochi Arvenu. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's Yehuda.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so that's Yehuda. So you find the concept of Arvus in the Torah. So that's something that obligates more than somebody that says I'm a chayiv to you. So what does the Gemara say? That even Rabbi Shlokish could agree to Rabbi Shmuel as far as Arvus that it does obligate it. But second line, that it's a Torah obligation. Arvus, guarantor is a Torah concept. Here there's no shibud because he does said I'm chayiv. He's being chayiv himself now. So then you don't find that it obligates him. So we still have machlokas of Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. We didn't find any proof. We tried 2 proofs to Rabbi Yochanan, didn't work. We tried Ketanoi also. We did find it. In fact, Rabbi Yochanan cannot hold like Bananas, but Rish Lakish says I could hold like Rabbi Shmuel also. Bananas says that the guarantor after the signature of the Eidim does not obligate him. You had a contract, a Malvin Aloba, a signature, everything's not signature of the Eidim. Okay. And then somebody writes afterwards, I guarantee the above loan.
What's missing there?
It doesn't have Eidim.
And also it doesn't have Eidim, and also he the guarantor came after the fact, after the loan was already done, and then also it seems he didn't sign his name.
Rashi says it's Milval Peh.
It's like a Milval Peh. So then he is obligated. What's the story to say he's not obligated? Milval Peh is saying that's only B'nei Chorim. That's good. But then Banana says doesn't obligate himself at all. Is the case that because he didn't sign his name? That's okay.
But the witness is signed that he didn't sign.
The witness is signed on the loan. The witness is signed on the loan.
Yeah.
And then he wrote afterwards, I guarantee the above loan.
I guarantee. And
Did he also sign?
A different person.
Oh yeah, the guarantor comes in.
The third person.
Right. There's Reuben Shimon, that they're the lender and the borrower. Yeah. And then you have 2 witnesses, Yehuda, and then somebody comes, Yisachar, and he says, I guarantee the above loan. Did he sign his name? That's what I'm questioning. Did he sign his name? And I thought it's the one, even if he signs his name, it has nothing to do with Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish, but the Gemara seems to put it together with Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. He did not sign his name. I don't see it. I'm confused in this point. I don't get it. It says, yeah.
And so Ishmael says it is.
It does bind him, and Banana says doesn't obligate him at all. I'm fuzzy over here. I don't know. The reason they came into the sugi is because initially it taught us to write from our Mishnah. That's why it came in. We tried some more rice, and then we tried to all of that didn't work. The Gemara, once we mentioned the thing about, we're going on a sidetrack now, we're going on a cruise to the side, about the point made about the story of Stikta, the Chassan and the Kala, the 2 Mechutanim, they obligated themselves. So the Gemara brings Some talk about that on the fifth line. Gufa Amrav Gidlam Rav, Kama Denosin Labincha, Kach Lekach. Kama Denosin Labitcha, Kach Lekach. The two Mechutanim said, how much are you giving to your son, to your daughter? And they said whatever they're going to give. Amdu v'kidshu kanu. And then the kids, they made a kiddushin, so that obligates the fathers. Hey, named this is a case of something that is gets acquired, even just verbally, it makes an effect. Amar Rava, Mistavra, Milsa, Derav, Bito, Nara. First, the Gemara thought that it only obligates the father of the Kala only if she's a Nara. Nara means that she's between 12 and 12 and a half, and the money of the Kiddushin goes to him. When a Nara gets married, so the Kiddushin that the Chassan gives to the Kala goes to the father. So then the fact that he's getting a benefit from it, he's getting the financial, he's getting the monetary benefit, that obligates him. The Kamamti Hana Liyode, that he's getting a benefit. Mamti is that it reaches, that the benefit reaches him to his hand. But if she's already 12 and a half and the money goes, she's a Nara. Ktana is less than 12, Nara is 12 to 12 and a half, Bulgaris is over 12 and a half.
At that point, it still belongs to the father.
Right, but if it be 12 and a half, Bulgaris, the Lomati and that the benefit doesn't go to him, it goes to his daughter. So that, now why should I obligate him? Just because he said he's going to give, but he doesn't get anything, doesn't get any monetary value. So maybe it doesn't obligate him. Low. Bulgaris, the low mamti and they low. Maybe the Bulgaris who doesn't, the father doesn't get any monetary benefit, maybe it doesn't obligate him. But that's what I would have thought. Like it says, Mistavra, you might have thought. But him, I swear by God, Amar Rabba Filu Bulgaris, that the truth is Rab said, even if she's a Bulgaris, also it obligates the father of the Kala.
Even if he's not going to get the benefit.
Right, even though it's not getting monetary benefit. The Ilo Temachi, if that's not true, so Abiyah Ben Mayano Asaliyade. By the father of the chassan doesn't get any money. The father of the kala, he can talk about if his daughter is a naira, he gets the money. Daughter's a Bulgaria, she doesn't get any money. But the father of the chassan surely doesn't get any money. And it says that it obligates him also. It says that the father of the chassan, the father of the kala, each one says how much are you going to give.
Yeah.
So you see that the obligation of the parents is not because they're getting any monetary benefit, right? Not because of any monetary benefit. The father of the chassan doesn't get any monetary benefit no matter what age the son is. So the daughter also, it's not because he's getting benefit from the money. So what is the reason why it benefits? The fact that they're marrying to each other, the fathers are happy that the kids are marrying. That's the benefit. It doesn't have to be a monetary benefit. It's the emotional benefit that he's happy that the parents are happy that they're getting married to each other. So that's enough to obligate them to their word. That once they said, I'm going to give such and such, and the kids get married, so then the parents have a leiv shalom to be able to give everything that they obligated themselves.
Does the father of the Kala doesn't have to pay anymore, right? He's been supporting her. Is that true or not true?
He doesn't have to support her either, right?
Just like a son.
Just like a son, right? Doesn't have to support her till 6 years old. Till 6 years old.
It's not a benefit. So there's no financial benefit. I was thinking maybe like on one.
That maybe he's
the son can go to work,
Out of the
right?
house, doesn't matter.
Getting
the daughter out of the house is a benefit.
The son too, then.
Yeah, that's right. It's a benefit.
That's what they were saying. There's not because of the monetary benefit, but because
Just
of
the
the
emotional
fact that they're married.
They're happy.
They're happy that the kids are getting married. Yeah. Just the words alone, I wonder if that means that if the Mechutanim are becoming related. Is that what the saying? What says no? That the kids are getting married. Has nothing to do with the kids. Okay,
Mechutanim can hate each other.
The Gemara says, the Gemara says Mechutanim are not considered related. Mechutanim, the two parents are not considered related. As far as Eidos, the kosher Eidos, it could be they're not considered. The Gemara says I don't know what the mashal is, but the Gemara in Edmund says it's like a barrel and a lid. I don't know what that is. The barrel and the lid, that they're not connected. I don't know what it means to say. That's the mashal of the Gemara to say that they're kosher
together and they're essential to each other. You can't cook a meal if you don't have a lid on it.
They don't have to do anything.
But
they're not connected. They're not connected. Okay, good. Anyway, Mechutanim kosher.
That's very smart.
Kosher Eidos.
I'm surprised.
Together they keep the wine.
But they're not connected. They're not connected.
Most people know that after you do a chatanim, with the time of the wedding, you're like so tight and close.
But they're not.
And then a month later, a year later, they haven't seen them since. The
custom is not to take. It's interesting. The custom is not to take mechutanim for Eden. Even mechutanim for the children means. But one of the weddings of the kids, so we wanted to have it as an aid, one of the mechutin. So and it's kosher. It's kosher. The mechutin is even.
No, can be interested in their own child.
No, not that mechutin.
A mechutin of the parent.
Another mechutin.
You're saying a mechutin of the parent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So not
And they
the
said-
mechutan, not the mechutan of this simcha.
Hello.
Older child's mechutan. So they're kosher. They're kosher.
It's kosher.
It's kosher, but the minig is not. The minig is not. They don't like to do. They don't like to do it. A cute story happened, but
Okay.
okay. New Gemara. Only Ravina Ravashi. This thing we just talked about, that the mechutanim, they mechayiv themselves kach v'kach, and they become obligated because of a kedushin alone. So are you allowed to make a contract? Are they allowed to write it down? Are they allowed to write it down, even if both of them agree? And the question is because maybe if it's like in a contract, people might think that it's mishubadim. You might think that it even obligates like a contract that's written down. So usually it makes a lien on the property. And here, the fact that they made it by themselves, there was no kinyan even. So are they allowed to write it down to make it as if it's a contract? It's dangerous because they might use it to collect from the chosim mishubadim and say that it's a It says in our Mishnah that the smart people, when they obligated themselves to their bride, that I'm going to support your daughter for 5 years, they write as long as you're married, as long as we're married. So what do you see? That they wrote it down. And what? And the Gemara said before that it's talking about story psik. The Gemara said that this case of our Mishnah is talking about that he obligated himself, like this kind of story psikta, that they obligate themselves before the marriage. And here it says they wrote it down. Like Kosman, they wrote it down. So you see that you're allowed to write it down. You're saying you're not supposed to write down such a kind of a thing, which is not really wasn't made with a kinyan. Just the fact that it was just the fact that they're happy because of the marriage and they obligated themselves, or the parents or the chutz and kala themselves, so it obligates them. And he says here in the Mishnah that they write it. Kosman, they used to write it. So the more gets out of it by saying my Kosman Omer. It doesn't. Don't take it literally. Even though it says writing, it doesn't mean writing. It means that they would say so. They would specify only as long as we're married, but not that they write it. You're not allowed to write such a kind of contract.
I missed it. Why don't they want you to write it?
Because if there's a contract that's written, so then they might be used to collect from a lien. They might think that as a contract. We said before that when you have a contract that's signed by Adam, so then there's a lien on the property, and if you sell it subsequently, the creditor, the one who's owed, could go to the buyer and say, I have a lien on this property. But this is not so because there was no real kinyan over here. This is like one of the exceptions that they made a kinyan is mechayiv, even though they didn't make it. They made no kinyan as no real contract. Now they're going to write it down as if it was a written contract. Then they're going to go collect from the nechosim mishvadim, and they're not allowed to.
Without Adam?
The Adam will sign the contract, but they'll say that they obligated themselves. But the actual, it was no kinyan over there, so it shouldn't obligate them. I think that will be the pshat. Any Rashi on this? The law literal that says since there was no kinyans, even if they are going to sign on the story, but there was no kinyan, so therefore it shouldn't obligate. Even if people know about it, but there was no actual kinyan. So the Gemara gets out of it and says, don't take it literally, even though it says kosman, it just means omer. You find such a thing that it will say the word kosiv, even though it just means saying. And you find such things, and it brings a Mishnah where you find that. But there's a Mishnah at the beginning of the Perek of Kosov. We had it before. It says in 83. Over there it says that he wrote, and over there the Brisa says not dafka writing, even saying. It doesn't have to be dafka writing. The fact that he did, what's the word over there? He disengaged himself. He said, I'm not going to take, I waived my rights. Over there it says Kosov, and the Brisa says Omer. I don't understand so much this right because over there it means not only Kosov, even Omer. Here we're saying that it says Kosov and it means dafka Omer. That's a big jump. I don't understand that. The Gemara continues about this question: are you allowed to write a contract for such a kind of a deal? Tashma, it says, "Ein kosvin shtar erisin v'nesuin elamidashneim." You can't write a shtar erisin and nesuin, which we don't know what that means yet. Only if both of them agree. So the Gemara wants to know, what does that mean? The more thinks it means this case of shtar psikta, the case that they agreed how much money they're going to give to their children, and it says you can't write it only if both of them agree. You can't write only if both of them agree. If one doesn't agree, you can't write it. But the mashma that if both of them agree, you could write it. Hamidash name kosman. If both of them would agree, then you could write the contract. So it says you could write it, and you're saying now, because you're not allowed to write it because it's going to mess up. The people will think there's a lien on the contract on the property. My love story psikta, isn't that what it's talking about? It says story eris and story nesun. What does that mean? Doesn't it mean our case? And it says you're allowed to write it. The more it says no proof. Lo story eris and mamish. It's the actual star eris, which means that we don't do this nowadays, but there's a way to marry. the kesef is shtar b'bia. We do kesef always. We give a ring. That's the way we make kedushin, and that's called kesef. But there's also a shtar. Someone writes on a paper, "Aviat mekudeshesli b'shtar zu," because that's Moshe Yisrael, and he gives it to the woman, and that's the kedushin. No money, no ring, no nothing. Just gives the shtar.
No yichud.
This is kedushin. We're talking about kedushin. You know, so the kedushin is the first stage of marriage. So usually it's done by kesef. Nowadays they do chuppah right away. But the erison is the money. Also, the way to make erison with a shtar, you give a piece of paper. The paper's not even worth a pruta, and it says so that means you only could write it b'dashneim. So what does it mean? Of course, the woman doesn't get married if she doesn't agree, and when he gives if she doesn't want to accept, she doesn't accept it. But does it have to be written b'dashneim? Does it have to be like written lishma? So here, maybe that's in this brisa when it says that ain't kosmin shtar erison elomidash name, it means that this shtar erison, not a shtar psikta, not this case about the money deal. How much are you going to give? How much you're going to give? That you're not allowed to write. This is talking about a shtar erison that of course you're allowed to write. And the chiddush is midash name means that you have to have the consent of the bride before you write it down. Even though, of course, she's going to consent when she gets it if she wants to get married, so she'll accept it. But maybe it has to be written also midas the bride.
It's printed.
What?
If it's printed, there's a standard formula that's acceptable to him.
Maybe when they write in the names, they have to
Maybe
that.
it's
Maybe
the
that.
names, but I'm saying, can
But
it be a printed document, or does it be written? Like a get, it must be written.
I don't know. We don't do this nowadays at all. We don't do shtar erison. You give a ring. But here, in order to say that it's not talking about a shtar psikta, the Gemara says maybe it's talking about a shtar erison, and when it means dash name, that's another way of saying that she has to be written lishma. She has to know about it and agree to it. And then if that's so, then it comes out that it's not the point to everybody. That we're going to say right away, there's a machlokis by shtar erison if it has to be written with her consent, even the writing alone, even though later on she agrees to accept it. Maybe the writing alone says machlokis. They wrote it for her. It was lishma. Maybe I used the wrong word. They wrote it for this woman that he wants to marry, but she didn't know about it yet. So Rabbi Rabbeinu Amri Mikudeshes. Rabbi Rabbeinu says good enough as long as it was written lishma, even though it wasn't with her knowledge. But Papa Rav Shavya Amri Ena Mikudeshes. So if that's true that it's not a good shtar erison, only if she knew about it, so that could be the pshat when it says that the shtar erison has to be midash neim. It's not talking about shtar psikta. So just to sum that up, what we were trying to find out if a shtar psikta is allowed to be written. So far we said you're not allowed to. There were a couple of kashas. Each time we're deflecting the kasha and saying that no, it doesn't say differently. You're not allowed to write. You're not allowed to write the shtar psikta because it might collect from mishabadim illegally. The Gemara continues with another right, Tashma, Mesu, in our Mishnah. It says that they had the two husbands that obligated themselves to support the stepdaughter, and they're bound by it even after they divorce, and even after they die also, there's a shibud on their property to pay the support of this stepdaughter. And even more than their own daughters are only supported from Bnei Chorin, and these daughters are supported from Nechasim Mishabadim. Mesu, if these two people died, then Hossein is honest from Nechasim Bnei Chorin, their own daughters are only supported from the property that's available in his Rishus. But he and this girl, the stepdaughter, who was obligated to be supported by the husbands, the step fathers, is honest from Nechasim Mishabadim, they shika balas chol. What do you see from that? The Gemara thinks again that it's a shtar psikta, and it seems that the Nechasim Mishabadim, that must mean that it does collect from the Nechasim Mishabadim. You're saying that they're not allowed to collect from the Nechasim Mishabadim. Here it says that she could. We said it's talking about a shtar psikta, and now it says that they could collect from the Nechasim Mishabadim. You're saying the reason why you can't write it down is because it might collect illegally from the Nechasim Mishabadim. Here it says that they could collect from the Nechasim Mishabadim. Only if they made a kinyan. With a kinyan, like we said, the whole chiddush we're talking about shtar psikta. The fact that they didn't make a kinyan, that cannot collect from the Nechasim Mishabadim, and therefore we said don't even write it down because they might collect illegally from the Nechasim Mishabadim. But if they made a kinyan, then it's not great. Then surely they could collect even from the Nechasim Mishabadim. Yachi bonus nami b'shekanu. But if so, it doesn't make sense. The Mishnah contrasts his own daughters and his stepdaughter. His own daughters only collect from the Nechasim Bnei Chorin, and the stepdaughter that he made a contract and they made a kinyan, then you can collect even from the Nechasim Mishabadim. If the case is that happened to have made a kinyan, he could have made a kinyan for his own daughters also then. So how come the Mishnah distinguishes between the daughters and the stepdaughter? The Gemara tries to get out of it, that the case was this, that he made the contract for his stepdaughter with his new wife, and he didn't make contracts with, but the daughters that are going to be born from him. But the Gemara doesn't like that. My Pascal, like Basepis, why should he say that this is like Chachamai Iskina? The Mishnah has to differentiate between his daughters and his stepdaughters. Who says that the case is he gave a kinyan to that one? Now he could have made a kinyan for his own daughter also. So the more tries, you do
I
have
mean, naturally,
If the issue is a Kenyan, so what is that with his daughter?
that's more conscious, right?
but his own daughter is obligated by biologic. He's obligated. What is it?
The question is if they could collect from the Chasam Mishubadim. He's supporting his daughter. His daughters are supported. Even after he dies, the Tanai Kesuvos they could be supported from his estate, but only from Bnei Chorin. But there's no lien on it if the estate was subsequently sold. The daughters can't go and say that our father has to support us and from his estate. No, only the Chasam Mishubadim. But if the case was Shekanim Miyado, he might have made a kinyan with his wife that I'm obligating myself to support the daughters with a kinyan. So then even with Chasam Mishubadim also, if the case is only by the stepdaughter, that he only pays from the Chasam Mishubadim if there was a kinyan, so then by his own daughters also it could have theoretically been a kinyan. The Gemara says they made a kinyan here, not a kinyan over there. But my pascha, like who says why should it be that the Mishnah understands that this case he surely made a kinyan, this case he didn't make a kinyan. So the Gemara tries to say that even if he made a kinyan, it wouldn't be effective on the daughters that were not yet born. The case of the stepdaughter is he's marrying a woman who has already a daughter, she's here living, and he obligates himself, so then it takes effect on the person who's living. But when he marries a woman and his the daughters that are going to be born from him, they're not yet born. So maybe the kinyan doesn't help for the children that are not yet born. But bonus the law of b'shas kinyan lo mani lo kinyan. Maybe that would be the case that the reason why the kinyan doesn't affect on his own children is because they were not yet born. But the Gemara says there theoretically could be a case where they were born also. Milo askinan da boy b'shas kinyan. Vechidam he go into garsha of a there's a theoretical case where it could be that even his own daughters also were already living. The case would be that he divorced he had his children, he had a daughter, he divorced his wife, then he married her back again. And then he took back the wife again, and now he's making a kinyan for the daughter that was born from him, that's already existing, and over there made a kinyan. So and the Mishnah sounds that his own daughters cannot collect from the Chasam Mishubadim. Why not? It theoretically could have been a case that he also obligated himself with a kinyan. Ella, not another reason. He the less of a Tanai Bezdin Mahani lo kinyan. Bonus this no but Tanai Bezdin lo Mahani lo kinyan. The more tries that the kinyan doesn't help for something that's obligated already by Tanai Bezdin. Tanai Bezdin means a person has to support his own daughters from his estate after he dies from a Tanai Bezdin. Bezdin, Tanai Kesuvos. Tanai Bezdin makes that he has to support them. So then the fact they made a kinyan doesn't strengthen it. It can't be stronger than that. But the stepdaughter, he has an obligation. If they made a kinyan, it does obligate it. But the Gemara doesn't like that. Migra Gora, the first wide line, Migra Gora is it worse. The fact that they have also Tanai Bezdin, if he obligates himself more. The Tanai Bezdin would obligate only the Chasam B'nei Chorin, and his obligation makes Chasam Mishubadim. Ella, this and our final answer. But no, to find the time the reason why he can't collect from the Chasam Mishubadim is because since he's obligated very much, the Tanai Bezdin obligated, so you could see that it could be that he wanted to discharge his responsibility. So he gave in his lifetime, he gave a package of money that should be set aside for their support. So that's why he can't go to the Chasam Mishubadim, because we're always choshesh that maybe that was paid off already. The obligation that he makes for his stepdaughters that there's no Tanai Bezdin, so there's no reason why he would have taken such precaution to pay it off. So therefore, they could correct that Chasam Mishubadim like any kind of lien. But his own daughters, that Tanai Bezdin already obligates him to support them. So it could be that he put aside money for them, he designated money in the safe deposit box, and they have money for their support, and we choshesh, and therefore he can't collect from the Chasam Mishubadim. What happened over here? The Gemara's question was the more deflected the proof. The question was, the kasha. The Gemara was, are you allowed to write down sharp sick in a case where you made the deal, the two Mukhutana made this deal to obligate themselves. You made this exception to the rule, and it obligates them even without a kinyan. Could you write it down? The Gemara says no. You don't write it down because then they might go to collect from the Chasam Mishubadim and they're not allowed to. Since there was no kinyan between them, it's a chiddush that they're obligated even without a kinyan, but it doesn't go so far to obligate their estate. That if he sold it, that can't go to the lakuchos, can't go to the buyers and say there's a lien on this because they made a shidduch and they obligated themselves with the refrigerator and this and all the amount of money that there's a lien on the nechassim. There's no lien on the nechassim. So therefore, don't write it down because it might be misused and yes, collected from a nechassim.
But are we lacking them some kind of proof that it actually took place?
Not a question of proof. The question of
or some kind of
so you get edus and that you can do, but you can make a zichron dvorim and whatever. They could sign their own, but it's not going to make a nechassim mishubadim. We don't want to make a contract that might look like a nechassim mishubadim that's going to be able to collect from lakuchos. If we have time to go, we go to the Mishnah. A couple of minutes more. Well, second wide line. We have in the Mishnah a big chiddush that the one husband obligated himself to support the stepdaughter, and then she got married again, and the second daughter. And it says that they both have to support her. And the Mishnah says that he can't say, I'm only going to support her as long as we're married. But now that we divorced, I'm not going to support your daughter. No, he has to take it to the place where she is. The Mishnah said, this is what Mike spoke about before, the first white line, the Mishnah, that he has to bring the food to the place that her mother is. So Mike was talking about the molech, the delivery, that I don't know. But the Gemara is talking about the Mokum She'ima, the place where the mother is, that's where the daughter is. And it's taken for granted in the Mishnah that where's the daughter? In the place where the mother is. So the Gemara talks about that point. From here you could derive that a daughter goes with the mother. What does that mean? That here the case where the daughter is being supported from the estate. So those who own the estate, the Yorshim will get the estate. They might say, we'll support the daughter, but let her come to our house. Because the Gemara says that it's easier, it's cheaper to support somebody when we're all together. If you have to send her someplace else, it costs more money. So they might say, we'll support her like we're supposed to, but only if she's here. Live with us. Live with us. You have to have electricity. You have to have, if you put a pot of cholent, it's enough for everybody. You have to give a special pot of cholent to them, that's going to cost more. So no, Basa Etzalim, but the fact that it says that he sends the money to the place where she is, that means that she has a right, the daughter has a right to be by the mother. But the Gemara says, who says? The Gemara is going to say the difference now between a Gedol and a Ketana, between a minor and a adult, the girl that's being supported. And the Gemara says there's a bigger problem when she's a Ketana. There's a bigger problem. More reason that she should be by her mother when she's a Ketana. The Gemara is going to, Rashi explains it, that there's a very, what's the way to say it? Very ugly chashash. That they don't want the daughter to be by the Yorshim who would gain by her death. That means that if they have the Rashi brings down Isra Nechasim, that the girl, before she gets married, so she has a right to get out of the estate, a tenth of the estate for her marriage. That we had that before once upon a time, that a tenth of the estate
Chunk of money
goes to so the Yorshim, they're not happy about that. They're going to have to give a tenth of the estate for her wedding. So it says, even though it's not nice, it says that they're going to kill her somehow. So that might be a reason to make sure that she's not going to be among
brothers.
the brothers. The brothers, how does it go with the brothers? Is it the brother? Half brothers. So they're going to want to get rid of her that shouldn't. What?
It could be through an iron rod.
Or maybe they just won't feed her
So
properly.
what's the case over here? Just make sure it's half brothers. How does it go? That they're the Yorshim of the father, and the father's obligated.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the case over here.
Suppose they're half sisters.
It's a half sister.
Stepsister.
She's a second.
The steps no relation at all. It's the father. Here the case would be that it's here is not related at all. Here it's the father's wife's daughter. So it's not related, not half. But here and they talk about even if it would be if it would be related, but a minor is more reason not to leave her by the Yorshim. But an adult, the girl is married already, she's not eligible anymore to that tenth of the nechasim. So then there's less reason that she should have a right to be by her mother. By a minor, there's a big chash that she should be by her mother, because if she's going to be with them, she might get killed. But if she's already an adult, they have no reason to kill her. So then maybe not. The Gemara, Chisda says no. Chisda is saying no. The daughter has a right to be by her mother even if she's an adult, not because of chash of not that it's not safe. But she has a right to be with her mother. She wants to be with her mother. Then I saw Askol said because the mother wants to teach her how to, whatever, either to discipline or to watch her, that she should be tsanua, whatever it might be. There's a reason why the mother wants her to be with her. And that's even if she's a gedola. So the Gemara says, maybe it's talking about a ketana. The big gedola askin who says it's talking about she's already an adult. Like we have a story that is dangerous for a ketana to be by the Yorshim. The Tanya Misha Meis V'niach Ben Katan LeImo Yoshi Av Omi Mihei Godel Atzleinu V'imo Omeres Yehei B'ni Godel Atzli. Someone died and he left over a minor son Ben Katan LeImo. This is a case of half, at least a half son, and the son is supposed to be supported. Is that true? The son, what's happening over here? He's a Ben Katan LeImo. And what's supposed to happen over here? He's regularly Yoresh. Ben Katan Le'imo. Yoshi Abomer, and the Yoshi would say, let him live by us because it'll be cheaper for us to support him if he lives by us.
And they were-
And Imo Meres Beni Gadol Leslie, she wants their son to be by him. You don't bring it by the people who are going to inherit him. It's not the case of the 10th of the Nechasim. The girls have the issue of the 10th of the Nechasim, but a son, he's a regular Yoresh. Maybe it's dangerous to leave a Yoresh
by
by the Yorshim because they might Yarshin him. They'd rather that he shouldn't be here in order that they should get the Yerusha. They say here, it sounds like they said Erev Harishon. It says an Erev Harishon. The first night that he was there, they already slaughtered him. How did it happen? I don't know. But okay, it's an ugly case.
A
What?
Ben or a what?
The son, the young son. He was
Yeah.
a young son. They left him by the Yorshim's house, and he died. He died. He was slaughtered. Whatever the case is. Anyway, the case is that by a katan, surely there's more chash not to leave him away from his mother. But by a gedola, you have no raya. Maybe a gedola has no right to be by your mother. And Cain listening, welcome shahid. No, the reason why Chris said dik is because said they should take the food to where the daughter is. Bottom line.
What does it mean?
Which word?
Ein Reshen.
It says on the side, Erev Harishon.
Oh.
Left side,
Oh, yeah.
Erev Harishon, the first night.
He
But the
killed
says
him.
no. What?
He killed him.
Yeah. It was as Im Cain, listening, Lamakam Shahid. Then it should have said that wherever she is, the Mishnah that says that they bring the food to wherever the mother is. It should have said they bring the food to wherever the girl is, wherever she is. Since it says wherever the girl is, wherever the mother is, that's teaching us that the girl always has a right to be by her mother. So as if Chrystus said that the daughter has a right to be by her mother. Next Gemara. Lo Yom Mushneim. It says
We're
that
talking about daughters and sons. We just talked about a son. Now we're talking about a daughter.
the one brought the case about the danger of being.
Right.
That's
Isn't
by
that
a katan.
daughter, son?
There's
Either way,
no
it's the
difference of
same-
katan of
same
katan.
danger.
Rashi says by katan, not Yerusha, by
Right,
katan, the issue is going to be because it's in a chassan. The Gemara starts on the top, lo shna katan, I'm sorry, lo mushneim, that's not a new point. That I wanted to say that both of them cannot say will jointly support her. One gives food, the other one gives the value of the food. We have two husbands, ex-husbands, that are obligated to support their stepdaughter for 5 years. So she gets a double portion. She doesn't get food. One gives food, the other one gives the value of the food.
Were the two people?
A man married a woman and he obligated himself to support her daughter for 5 years. He divorced her. He still has to support her. She married somebody else and she made the same deal with the second
She, the
husband.
mother?
The mother made the
Married
same deal with the
the
second
next guy.
husband, also support my daughter for
Oh, I
5
see.
years, and both of them are supporting her. She gets two
So they-
supports.
So they can't say we'll
Mother's the
support
correct
together.
one.
Right? And one gives the full support, and the other one gives the value of the support. Not going to give 2 lunches. She can't do anything with 2 lunch. She's going to get a lunch and she's going to get the value of the lunch. So who covered the ogale rechaya lechavre letrina? There was a person who rented his mill to a fellow man. Letrina. Trina means the grinding, the milling.
Sure.
And the Rashi says the pshat is, it says in the Gemara soon, that he didn't ask him for a fee for the rental. The fee was that you mill for me. The owner of the mill, I'll let you use it, and the only rental fee is that you have to mill my needs, my privilege.
And the ogre is.
Ogre is to rent.
to
He
rent.
rented that. He leased out. He leased out a mill
Leased
to his
out.
friend for the
For
price
him
for the
to-
price of trina. Nowadays, trina means
To grind his.
Means tahina.
It means ground sesame.
God says it.
Tahina.
But the word trina
Tahina.
alone means just grind.
Grinding.
So I just want to grind. I want you to grind for me, whatever I need.
You
Right,
can use it as long as you grind my stuff too.
right.
Mhm.
But so Iyata,
Yeah, but how do we know that he's not going to say, he's going to give them great clusters of raw, and all day long he's going to be doing the masters? How do you know? We have to
whatever he needs for his household needs, whatever. Bread.
within reason.
Make-
Okay, within
The
reason.
Sophiyata, the how do you say the one who leases out the renter,
Um,
the Oswald called it the lesser.
Lesser.
Okay, so he said he became rich and he didn't need
Oh, yeah.
services
I thought
and-
yater is a crown. That's a different word.
what's it a test. A Torah.
Oh,
This with a
that's
tough.
with a test?
A Torah, a crown is with a test.
Oh, okay.
This is in Aramaic to become rich. A tough substitutes a shin. A shear is a tear.
Yater.
So he became
He
rich.
became rich.
The one who was rented, the owner of the mill became rich. He didn't need any
Owner of
water
the mill.
services.
Oh, didn't need.
You need the
him.
services of your mill. I have a Zavin Rechayev. He bought a mill with a donkey, like an electric one, that he didn't need anymore.
Yeah.
That he should give me. He should give me that. Till now, I had the service of your milling for me, but now I need money. I don't have any need for your grinding for me services. So give me money. How much? Give me rent.
change.
a $100 a month.
I don't need you to do it for me.
Right, I'm a lay, no, I just want to keep, I don't want to give you money, I want to give you the grindings, that's why we made up the deal.
You can kick
And they
him
may
out,
have a
no?
deal for a certain
That
amount
was
of
the
time.
deal.
and he wants to-
The deal was that he grinds for him, and he wants to continue grinding for him. Now also you want money because you don't need it
He
anymore.
married
he
before
can't
his
just-
kids, there's nobody home, he doesn't have to.
That's
Yeah,
your
just
business,
say it.
I'll give you the grindings,
So
that's all.
can you just say the deal's off? If there was no
That's
time,
really-
They made a deal, they made a deal for a year, whatever.
well, I'm saying, was it for a
Yeah,
year and now,
yeah.
then he got rich? Earlier
Yeah,
than
and
the year
right,
was
and now
over.
he wants to change
He wants to change the deal.
conditions.
In the middle of,
He
in the middle of
needs
the
a
term.
Middle of the
It's in the
term.
middle of it, that's what.
It's a contract that she wants. to
Yeah, but now he
bundle.
said, yeah, but he doesn't totally says that. Till now I needed milling. Now I don't need it. So give me money. So Rabina thought that it's our Mishnah. So Rabina Levei Mahana Masnisa, because here the man made up to give support to the daughter, to the stepdaughter. And then she doesn't need it because she's getting lunch from somebody else. So you have to give money. One gives support and one gives money. Why should I give money? I'll give also. So it says they both shouldn't say will support it jointly. So what do you see? That even since she doesn't need the mazonos, so you have to give her the main mazonos, the money. So too, I don't need any more than milling, the grinding. So give me the money.
So the owner, it seems like in favor of the
Pay the owner. That's what Ravina thought.
Ravina.
No, it's not a comparison. Midami Hasam Chad Kresa Isla. She only has one stomach. Tati Kresa Lessa. She doesn't have two stomachs. She can't eat two lunches. Here, the one who leased it, one who's using it, could say
I'll grind it, you can sell
grind
it
and
sell.
sell
Grind your own wheat with your electric mill and sell that.
She could sell.
and
her
take
second
my
lunch.
grindings for yourself.
She could sell her second lunch.
What's Osif?
She could
Doesn't
sell
have
her
to
second
sell
lunch.
it,
Why
sell
can't she?
it, don't
Yeah,
need
I don't know what the Gemara is. What's the Gemara's answer? Rashi says,
But she wants to make both and make.
"Chon is both shalakach." The Rashi is like that you should sell what you bought, and chon v'osiv. What does osiv mean? I don't know.
Sit me
You
here.
don't want to give it to
The
her.
osiv,
Let it
sit
sit.
me over here. Sit me over here.
In other words, keep our deal continue.
And
And the
you
fact
have-
that you have extra stuff, so sell it.
Sell it.
That's
And
like
then Mike
surplus for you.
Mike Steiner. It's
I
like,
thought-
and osiv means what?
One
Osiv,
stomach, you
take,
should do
take,
that too.
take. I'm not sure literally what the word osiv means.
But I
But
thought we were trying to
what's
protect
difference?
the,
Why can't the girl also sell her
Sell
second
her second
portion of
lunch?
lunch?
I thought we were trying to say, no.
It's not- maybe it's not food, it's
going
not so
outside.
sellable. Food you can't sell it.
So the more should say that. The more should say about two stomachs. The more should talk about that. The
Oh.
food is going to go rotten, man. Yeah, it's not
Oh.
going to. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. The Gemara just ends off. The That's only if the one who's using it, he doesn't have business the whole day. He doesn't have customers that he should be able to grind for his mill. So he's just going to be sitting around with the mill, and now you're not making him give money for the rent. So then he says, I know, I want to continue grinding, and you sell your donkey millings to the street.
I don't
How
know.
that's going to
What
give
are
you?
saying? The guy who's the least, the less.
The one who's
Who's who?
The one
The
who's
one who's using
The
it.
one who's paying who gets to use it.
Right. So he says, I'm going to continue giving you the millings. The deal continues that we had
Yeah.
till now. And whatever you get for your fancy electric one, so sell
It's your
that.
business.
Yeah.
Sell it.
But that's only if the one who's using it doesn't have what to grind.
doesn't have business
It
all
doesn't,
day.
it doesn't have business all day that he's able to grind. And therefore he says, you want me to give you money? I don't have any money. And I'd rather just
I mean, I
continue
have just a
grinding.
little bit to grind.
Right, and then the rest of the day I'm sitting there, looking at the four walls, and you want me to give you money? I don't have money, so I'm just going to continue milling for you your bread that you use every day, and that's going to be the payment. But if he has what to do, he has business to do. So then we tell him, Midas Adon means Shalish, Shalach, Shalach, that I don't know favors. Midas Adon means that it's still no one did any favors. So if it doesn't make a difference to you, Midas Adon. So we force Midas Adon. We don't allow Midas
Mine
Adon.
and yours is mine. Isn't that
No,
Cephas?
that's in Russia or something like that. Midas Adon means mine is mine, yours is yours, and
Oh,
don't ask me for any favors, even if it doesn't make a difference to me. Like
Yeah.
Zenan of Zelo Chassid. So we don't allow that. Kofar Midas Adon means that we force people should not be stingy for no
he
reason.
has enough work for the whole day. is what you're saying.
So why not give him money? Yeah, you're getting money anyway. You have work. You can grind for people. Everyone's waiting online. So you're getting money for your grinding. So give him money. If it doesn't make it, if it makes a difference, to you,
No,
we
it's if he's
understand.
grinding just for personal use and it's not enough for him to be as a business,
Right.
then he
Then
should be able to
continue
continue.
grinding. But if you
But if
have a
it's
business anyway,
for him,
and
people
you-
are asking him to grind.
right,
he
and you
gets-
get money for that, so pay
so
the,
then
pay
him
them.
from your-
Yes, you go, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
So
Thank
now
you.
I understand why we're a week behind, because we wanted to start this paragraph on Osei Isha during the first week of Sheva, the Rebbe.
Let's all play that.
Look how it works out.
Thank you. Yes, you go. Thank you.
Okay.
So tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh? Tomorrow's Rosh Chodesh? So
Tomorrow,
should we
yeah,
start?
tonight.
So
Yeah,
we'll
Rosh
start
Chodesh.
already, we'll start already, the second
10 to
class
12.
also?
10 to
Second
7
class.
class
11
starting
to-
The
tomorrow.
second
11
class
to 1.
also?
11
11 to 12 also? 12 to 1, 12 to 1 also. Whatever we do, I forgot, Tanakh and,
Tomorrow is what?
Maybe
Tuesday?
maybe we'll have this hooked up tomorrow?
yeah, tomorrow shouldn't be a problem. Yes, you go, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Simchas Bayit.